Hi guys. Thank you all for joining me today. And I'm a senior in the program of the environment here at UW. This is my presentation titled To Seed or Not to Seed: How a School Garden Can Combat Food Deserts. During the next few minutes, I'll go over my research on how a school garden can be used to combat food insecurity brought on by living in food deserts. Please feel free to ask any questions you have at the end of the slideshow. So to start off, I'd first like to provide some background on the topic, starting with what a food desert is. So, food deserts are widespread in the US and pose extreme threats to those living in them. Though the term has evolved over time, the standard definition of what a food desert is was developed by the USDA and classifies them as areas where residents have limited access to affordable and healthy food. They tend to affect populations where households are low income and have limited transportation options, as well as lack food retailers with fresh food at an affordable price. So, um, even though these are a national issue, most food deserts do not impact all communities equally, and therefore addressing the problem calls for a myriad of different solutions. Though researchers are making headway on looking into the idea of using school gardens to combat and educate about food deserts, there's still a gap in available knowledge on the subject. Knowing this, I wanted to use my capstone project to address this lack of knowledge. That leads me to my research questions. I had two. The first being, can a school garden be an effective tool to educate students about food deserts while also alleviating some of the pressures felt by living in one? The second was, what opportunities or challenges come with incorporating a school garden into an academic curriculum? For my internship, I partnered with Cactus Park Elementary School in Las Vegas, Nevada, with the primary objective of starting a school garden to be used both as an education tool and an additional source of produce, which would be available to the community. There are two main components to my internship: my daily responsibilities as well as my external research. Um, my workload would often include applying to grants, creating lesson plans, developing a garden maintenance plan, and assisting with the official garden rollout day. As for the research aspect, I hosted two focus groups. I analyzed these responses given by the staff and garden coordinators at these two schools, and I compiled outside research during a literature review to further back up my claims. For my methods, I wanted to understand, once I understood what was required to start a garden, I wanted to get a general idea of what would be needed to ensure its ongoing success. So my focus groups are attended by staff from two different schools: Bethel Park in Indianapolis and Cactus Park in Las Vegas. All of the people participating in these focus groups expressed interest in assisting with the general maintenance of the garden as well as incorporating it into their curriculum. I formatted the questions into sections that would touch on different aspects of the garden and how it could be used in an educational setting, and then shifted the focus specifically to food deserts. These questions assess staff's prior knowledge of food deserts, what benefits they had seen with the garden in combating food insecurity, what barriers they had run into in doing so, and how they felt the garden could best be used to enhance knowledge about food deserts. The focus group for Cactus Park centered around expectations for the new garden, whereas the focus group at Bethel Park centered addressed tangible results seen with their garden as it had been fully operating for many years. During the focus group, I asked multiple questions on how a garden can be used to educate students about food deserts. These open-ended questions touched on topics like if they wanted to address food deserts in the classroom, how they might do or have done that, what benefits and challenges they've faced, and what resources or support do they feel they need to teach about the subject. Um, from my focus groups, I was able to determine that most staff members were eager to promote and encourage the use of school gardens. They had seen concrete benefits and believe it can help educate students on the impact of living in a food desert in a larger capacity. Staff also expressed their concerns over challenges they expected to come up, as well as barriers that had already been experienced. As you can see in Figure 3, a limited number of staffs at both schools had the chance to use the garden as an education tool. However, 100% of these participants wanted to incorporate the school garden into their academic curriculum if possible. Another inspiring benefit seen from the use of the garden was increased engagement from the students. Multiple teachers reported complete engagement from their class during the construction and seeding of the garden on our official garden rollout day, which was super encouraging. Because students were so eager to participate in the garden activities, they showcased better listening skills and asked insightful questions to try to understand the concepts at hand. One documented benefit of school gardens is improved social relationships, which we saw in effect during our garden rollout day. This applies to students, teachers, families, and others in the extended community. Moving on to figure 4 at the bottom here, um, it show here we have many responses from participants in the focus group for how they could use the garden to promote education and alleviate some of the hardships of life in a food desert. These ideas mainly focused on improving and improving food accessibility for families and promoting awareness about food deserts using food from the garden as well as lessons about the garden. Additionally, they listed challenges that could help them from using the garden to its full capacity as an educating tool about food deserts. This included things like vandalism, students not comprehending the concept, lack of academic support, and physical support from either administration or from the garden team themselves, um, things like that. Overall, my focus groups showed multiple benefits and barriers to using a garden. Um, As you can see in figure 5, despite the barriers students were facing, some teachers had still found a way to incorporate lessons using the gardens to educate about food system and accessibility/insecurity. Innovative lessons about composting, plant care, and surveys on where students were getting their current produce from had been successfully implemented in the classroom. Benefits, we also saw a lot of benefits to using the school garden as a way to combat food deserts. Again, really like touching on promoting awareness about food deserts, keeping students engaged in the well-being and care of their produce grown, and supported having being supported by those who have experienced the effects of a food desert. Overall, I think my results contribute to the ever-growing pool of knowledge surrounding school gardens and how they can be used in multiple positive ways, benefiting the staff, students, community, and the environment. I have found many things need to be taken into consideration when deciding where and when to food desert or when to start a garden so that it can be used to its full capacity. All of these things need to be considered beforehand, and using tools that promote engagement and incorporating lessons on the subject will lead to a better understanding of environmental issues and life in a food desert. Hopefully, staff continue to receive the necessary resources, financial support, and other funding needed to continue to do this hard work. As long as their goal is to promote awareness, engagement, and connection, food gardens are definitely one way to do that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I will go ahead and answer any questions you may have. I'd also like to take this time to thank my faculty advisor, Eli Wheat, my site supervisor, Levi Casso, and my friends, family, and fellow intern, Miranda Heron, for their support during this time. Thank you.